My next Patreon question is from Ms. Zombie Blaster, who wanted me to compare two filmmakers infamous for big explosive blockbusters. Between Michael Bay and Roland Emmerich, who do you think is the better director? When it comes to Bay and Emmerich, I do think they have their strengths and weaknesses, although I certainly don't regard them as the worst directors like others seem to. They clearly have a drive and are passionate about entertaining audiences with their big-scale productions, although they've done a few smaller films too. So which of their works do I prefer overall? Even though I've not seen as many Roland Emmerich films as I have Bay's movies, I do give Emmerich a slight edge. I admit this is largely off the strength of Independence Day, which I think works as a rousing piece of science fiction. He did a good job of handling the massive ensemble of characters in this Irwin Allen-esque blockbuster, as led by charismatic Will Smith, and Bill Pullman is maybe one of the best movie presidents. Yes, it's an obvious piece of 90s Hollywood cheese, but it's an enjoyable piece of 90s Hollywood cheese. I do think Stargate is strongest with its setup than it is with the reveals in the second half, but I can understand why it developed a following and a long-running television series. Godzilla, on the other hand, I would rank as one of the worst big-budget blockbusters of all time. It's a movie with no characters to root for, dull action sequences, lame attempts at humor, and an unappealing-looking dinosaur. Emmerich later admitted he probably was not the right choice to direct a Godzilla movie, as he did not have much affection for the original Japanese films. I think unfaithfulness to the source material was the least of that film's problems, though. He's also directed his fair share of historical films. In the case of Midway, I personally thought the strengths of that film came from the strategy scenes over the big bombastic war scenes, but it has been praised as one of the more accurate depictions of the attack on Pearl Harbor and its aftermath. Oddly enough, his newest film, Moonfall, saw its theatrical release cancelled in Canada due to the pandemic and financial worries, so I have not seen that one yet. Regarding Michael Bay, while I have found his work to be a mixed bag, he certainly has an interesting vision. Sometimes his style can work with the spectacle presented on screen. Other times it can be obnoxious as he employs a million cuts per second and the camera won't stop moving. I would say his better films in my opinion would be Pearl Harbor, The Rock, and Pain and Gain. While they share some common themes of his other work, they also show him bring a slightly different approach to his storytelling. Pain and Gain was even his rare attempt at making a satire. He did spend a lot of time making the Transformers films, which tend to be filled with crass jokes, action scenes of big CG things clanging into each other, and had runtimes that far exceeded what was necessary for movies based on toys. I actually think the fourth film was the best Transformers movie directed by Bay, as he did surprise me in certain places, although it was still chock full of problems. Recently I found 6 Underground especially difficult to watch, with his usual editing style turned up to 11. The whole experience grated on the nerves for me. I am curious to see how Bay fares with his next movie, Ambulance. Watching the trailer, it definitely looks like a Michael Bay film. That man does not like keeping the camera still, but I'm interested in seeing how he handles this bank heist plot. It is interesting looking at these two directors and the similar career paths they've had. They seem to be charting a similar course in terms of delivering loud action and special effects driven films to audiences in the 90s. Despite the enormous success of the Transformers films, I do think Bay ended up getting a little lost in them, even as he had a few breaks in between to make passion projects, specifically Pain and Gain and 13 Hours. Emmerich has also recently done either a return to his well-known disaster pictures or a historical period piece. However, they're still out there doing the projects they want, whether critics want them to or not. It will be interesting to see where their futures lead them to. Now let me know in the comments whether you prefer the movies of Michael Bay or Roland Emmerich, and thank you for your question, Ms. Zombie Blaster.